Peace, y'all. Yeah, that's right. It's another update here on February 18th from the engineering department, the head desk at the engineering department of RPM Speed and Sport, right? RPM West here in Racine, Roseville. Got our package today thanks to Dave out in California. He sent us, we snagged up a couple of P0 Van K wheels. I'm not a big fan of the Van K wheels, but as you remember, we bought the two front wheels, the black ones. We showed you in that video, right, about clearing that little front brake that we're going to use on the lay-down shifter chassis, I guess, that we're going to build up this summer. We're going to get that in a supercart up and going, and this is part of what I'm going to show you today is part of the engineering, or working out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and going about getting it. So now we have 4 wheels to build that cart. Because we lengthened the chassis, I think 3.5 inches or so, to give it more wheelbase. It only had a 40. It had a 45-inch wheelbase. It was an Emic, right? That was I think it was Jim Fry's son's cart. It had a 45-inch wheelbase, and we like to see a little longer wheelbase. My particular cart, the TS chassis I got, I'm not going to tell you how long it is, but it's longer than 45. So we added 3 inches to try to get 48, at least 48 or so, 48 and a half on the wheelbase of this car. It's going to be a shifter cart. We're going to build it as a shifter cart. We'll probably put the spare motor on it and build it up. Maybe go so far as to get everything done, seat, steering, motor on it, radiator on it, all that kind of stuff, and just short of body work, and then see if we can get somebody interested in buying it. Maybe we'll do the body work too, I don't know. But we needed wheels to mock the chassis up before we start welding stuff on, right? If you remember correctly, it's going way back, showing you the stub axles that we had made for the vintage cart, and that we used the second set. We bought 2 sets of those and had the second set of those fit up on the TSR before we went to Daytona. We'll probably call that guy and have him send us another set of those stub axles, because the 2 spindles right and left on the front of this Emic cart, either that cart's been wrecked, which wouldn't surprise me, or it's been bent, something, they banged into something, because the stub axles are not the same on either spindle. And once we get out there and start building this stuff up, I'll remind you of this. I'll show it to you. You can see the stub axles are different. The spindle itself looks the same, so somebody cut it off and welded another one on. We want to get rid of both of them and start with brand new stuff. We may end up making brand new spindles altogether, just like we did with the Zip cart, because it's the same type of setup where the bearing tube with the 2 bearings in it are on the chassis instead of on the spindle like they are on the TSR or a Margay, right? It allows you to make a bigger yoke, the U-shaped square tubing box part that you're going to weld the stub axles to, make it bigger and allow yourself more weight jacking or corner weight adjustment. Once we'll just pretend this is a front brake hub with the rotor going to be out here. Once you get that yoke, doesn't matter how big the yoke, as long as the yoke's no bigger than this, right? Once it goes on the stub axle, it's going to move up and down with the yoke, so you don't have to worry about this doing any of this, right? So we're going to work on spindles. We're working on the rear end for that cart. We told you we're going to do 40 millimeter axle in that cart, which we intended to do anyway. And so we've worked on a couple different things. Now that we've got the wheels, we've got 4 wheels. Let me take you to our Facebook, Roberto's Facebook page. And this is, I'm sure you guys might have seen this stuff for sale. We contacted this guy and told him we wanted this stuff. It's all new. It's never been used. This is I think it's a 200 millimeter rotor, 200 across. So and if we're building the cart, it doesn't matter. The diameter, outside diameter of the rotor doesn't matter because we're gonna make a brake mount for the rear caliper, and we're gonna set that up ourselves. So we're not held to a certain size rotor other than you don't want it so big that it drags on the ground, right? But the what we want is this prime stuff. We want the red anodized parts. These are all new. They haven't been sandblasted. The bolts haven't been put on a cart. None of this has been used yet. And it's the right stuff for what we need. I think we'll probably end up using this rotor for the rear end on the super cart, and the rotor we have on the gold hub that we were using to set things up, we'll probably swap rotors and use the other stuff on the super cart and use the red stuff on this laydown, because the rear brake caliper that we have for it's a 4-piston Paul Martin caliper. It's really, really nice. Quick change pads and all that stuff. He doesn't make it anymore. That's red. It's unused. We have those small, I guess what you'd call Brembo copy looking front calipers, right? Those are actually silver anodized or whatever. We will probably send those out and have those red anodized. Those brake calipers actually originally came in red, but I guess Paul quit doing the anodizing on that. So we'll send those out. We want all the pieces for this car to be the same color. The shift lever is billet. Remember, it's for that DD2. It's all red anodized, the steering wheel hub, all that stuff. So we want everything to be that red anodized theme. It'll all be the same. I have been having a hard time trying to find this Righetti Rodolfi rear 40 millimeter rear brake hub in red. You can find it in black, you can find it in gold, you can find it in blue and silver. Okay, but you can't find it in red anywhere. So that's kind of why I jumped on this. I told him I'd just give him what he was asking for it, even though I really don't need this. I really don't need the axle either, but I mean, I'd pay the shipping and all just to get those parts here so I could get this thing going. So, got the wheels. We're hopefully going to have the rear end parts to get the axle and the bearing hangers and stuff set up. Stub axles for the spindles, get all 4 corners of that thing done, welded on. Once the 4 corners are in place, then it's on like Donkey Kong. We'll be able to run right through building that thing up. We won't be able to keep gas in the welding bottle out in the garage. As soon as the weather gets good, and after April, and we start tearing things up out there, it'll go relatively quick. Building up that cart. We're going to build up the super cart at the same time. What we're working on with the super cart today, we have been working on actually, is go over to the Anderson website. This is the Anderson parts part of the website. We picked the brake section and just highlighted this here, front disc rotors that we actually ours were used. We sold the rotors, the front and rear rotors. We didn't have, when we bought the cart, it didn't come with any hubs. We were offered new hubs, but the guy that, and you know, he has every right. He's the seller. He can ask whatever he wants for it. Me as the buyer, I'm not going to give him more than I think the stuff is worth, even though they were brand new and they hadn't been used. It's like anything else. You take a brand new car off the parking lot, and it's not worth the same amount of money it was before it left the parking lot. There isn't anything different about it. It just, once it leaves, it's not worth the same amount of money. Todd Baker was a good dude. He sold me that car at a decent price. Not a little more than I wanted to pay for it, but he wanted original top dollar price for those brake hubs, and I wasn't willing to pay that much. Actually, coming here and finding out needing a rear brake disc carrier or hub and both the fronts with the cost exchange to US dollars and then shipping them here, I'm looking at $250. I can buy everything I need to replace it all and Americanize this cart like I want to for far less money and still have money to spend on other stuff. So we're paying a little bit more than we want to with this stuff here. But again, this is going to be for the other cart, right? We already have a full 40 millimeter setup for the super cart. So we went to our, this is a NASA page, Earth Observatory. I just typed in metric to English converter, and this is what I come up with. I type in what Anderson gives us, which is a 12 millimeter wide front rotor 162 across in millimeter. Actually, 162, 160, it's all the same. So 12 millimeter is almost, or 25 millimeter, that's the stub axle. 12 millimeter is 0.472. And then 162 is about 6 3/8, right? So what we're going to do on a 25 millimeter stub axle, which is an inch, I mean, for the most part, it's an inch. What we're going to do is go with the Paul Martin 6 inches. You can see here, it says 6-inch outside diameter. They're going to make these rotors for us custom. They're going to be steel. We were going to go with the Rigetti Rodolfi, they would have been 12 millimeter wide, cast iron, 3-bolt rotors that actually Brad says Paul Martin makes a 3-bolt mini light rear hub that would have worked, but we didn't need it a bushing because it's for 1 1/4 inch and we have 25 millimeter or 1-inch stub axles. We wanted everything plug and play as best we could. So we went from cast iron to steel. And as you can see, this is a stock standard rotor. It's 1/8 inch thick or 3/16 inch thick. When we first talked to Brad about this, we said, hey, how about a 1/4 inch wide rotor? That's exactly the same thing that we're using on the TSR laydown 125 that we took to Daytona. Bigger diameter than 6 inch, obviously. I think we're at like 7 1/4, 7.5, 1/4 inch thick. But I said, after working on that laydown B stock car to Larry's, and looking at the front rotors, those were obviously custom rotors on there too. Those things, man, they look like 2 3/16 rotors put together. That's 3/8. So I asked Brad, what is the chance you could make me 3/8 wide steel rotors just like these 6 inch, right? So we'll be 3/16 of an inch short on outside diameter, which is no big deal. I mean, we're still plenty of pad on the rotor, no big deal. It would look just like this, but it would be 3/8 of an inch thick instead of 3/16 or 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch like we're doing. And it'll bolt right up to a hub, a 1-inch hub. It's got a 1-inch hole in the middle that'll bolt right up to that rotor, right? Rotor, hub. It's offset a little bit. It looks just like this one, this round one here, which is the same thing. It's a 1-inch hub, but you see it's got a little different angle to it. The register for the rotor is offset a little bit, which allows us, with this hub not being directional, where these legs are angled, we can flip-flop it either direction to make sure the rotor lines up with the center of the front brake caliper once the caliper is bolted onto that spindle or that brake mount. So we can't really move that. We could if we want to, but we don't want to. We don't want to get into cutting up any of the Anderson front end parts. Just bolt the caliper in place, and then we'll set up the rotor and hub in a directional way. And with a 3/8 wide, let's go back to the 12. 3/8 is 375. We're only 100 thou difference. We won't even have to make, with brand new brake pads, which we have for the Anderson, we won't even have to make any shims. So the 3/8 thick steel brake pad, and the steel rotors are going to work really well because the brake pads that Todd sent with these 5-star brakes, or the Kelgate copies, are the Pierre Huang power pads, and they're the red ones. If you go back and watch the videos of before Daytona, I changed out the red compound out of my front Kelgates to old school Kelgates. 2 piston, 1 piston on either side Kelgates, right? The old school ones, and put the blue pads in because the red pads are extremely aggressive. They'll take a little Paul Martin or little Enginetic brake caliper and turn them into a very powerful brake simply by putting that red aggressive brake compound pad on there. So now we've got front and rear for the supercar are all red power pad. So these 3/8 steel rotors, man, this thing is going to have brakes like nobody's business. I don't think we ain't going to have any problem going into a corner on brakes with any of the standard Kelgate brake system karts, period. So completely comfortable with what we're doing there. So as you can see, although it looks like headquarters is a boring job, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to figure all this stuff out, right? Someone's got to take the info that we have and convert it into stuff that we can use, American stuff or what have you. And of course, once we go back here and take you back to, this is a BMI page just because they got good pictures of all the Paul Martin stuff. We'll go ahead and get the big bore master cylinders, MCP master cylinders as well. And use duals of that with our standard, what we like, that delay system bias that Paul Martin developed, and we love it. We love the delay system brake bias, because it's a very positive adjustment thing. With the Kelgate having to come in from the side, the enginetic flip-flop thing that other guys like to use on their dual master cylinders, it comes in from the side. Ours comes in right from the front. You can put your legs and pedals and everything close together. You don't have to worry about a cable coming across your legs. Everything is in line, in order. And that's what we like. We like things in order. Okay. So there you go. We got like I said, we got the wheels. We're waiting to hear from our friend John. We said, if you want to keep the axle and just, sell us the red bits and the stuff here, we'll take that too, or we'll take all of it, whatever. Just it's time to get off the pot. We've been dealing with them for a couple of weeks now. We want to get the parts here. So when the weather changes and we're motivated to get outside and get working, we'll have everything here that we need to get the 4 corners on the super cart, 4 corners on the Enduro Shifter cart. And start getting things in order, getting them in a position to either start to use them or get them ready to, to market them to be sold. So that's what we're doing. I know it sounds like, oh, gee, he ought to be out there working on that Yamaha dog. I hear you, Bob. I hear what you're saying. You're barking, bark, bark. He's barking at me, but you know what? I'm just not motivated. 24 hours ago, it was 50 degrees here in Roseville, and all the